I'm Josh Nilson. I'm a member of Lolug. So this is my over and under city. Essentially, it started out kind of in the middle, that little blacksmith there. Um, it's just a 32 by 32. I decided I wanted to build kind of a nice blacksmith, and eventually, decided it needed another building, and then another, and then it got big enough where you can't have a old medieval city without a wall. And then there needed someone to, manage the city. So eventually, it was just by need or my own need. We built the whole layout. So we have the wall going around the entire city. It's got three little layers in it. There isn't a ton going on inside it, but it does go all the way through. Um, with that, a decent amount of the buildings in the back of it are built up into the wall. So it's a nice way to be able to build roofs at different angles and techniques because I could just attach it to the wall and let them kind of fall where they did. All of the road that goes through it is all, well, I think it's about 7,000 or 8,000 of the little dark and light blay pieces going.
One by one pieces in
Yep,
there.
the little one by one pieces, yeah. And so each of the buildings, like I said, they're their own 32 plates. So at any given time, I could just pull one of these buildings out and it can be its own standalone, which is nice because that means I could do something like this here and pull two of these out and put that in its place. So I could take this little building and just pull two plates out, put that right in, and the road matches up. So I can kind of interchange buildings and change the town if I want.
No, it's a good lesson in modular building. No matter what you're doing, it's pretty much always a good idea to build to make it easily, move things in and out.
Especially when you have to travel to display things like this. It makes it a lot easier to move it.
Take us through then some of these individual buildings if you can. Talk about maybe some of the techniques. I know the roofs are something that always stand out in displays like this.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. When you have a display this big, a lot of your eye space is roofs. So trying to diversify that was a huge challenge for me. Most of them started off with just using the standard black slopes, but as I got more and more buildings, there was a need to do something different. So a lot of these use a pretty simple, just not connecting like the 2x1 tiles. I just only pressed pressure on the back of them to give it a little bit of a shadow, so it gives more of a tiled effect. Some of these wooden roofed ones are actually just overlapped on each other. It puts a lot of stress on the bricks, especially with these brown bricks, which are known to crack sometimes. I do lose brown bricks like this, or the brown plates sometimes like this, but they're actually just overlapped a little bit where it's only connected on three, and so they essentially just overlap. And so basically I just took a tray of them in front of me so that way I could get some randomization out of it and just started laying them on there and got some overlap to give that thatched kind of look to it.
And it works very well. And I like how the buildings are at kind of different angles, especially this one here, is they aren't all just kind of like right angles throughout the city.
Right, and that was exactly the goal with that, because a lot of these are kind of right angles, but putting one or two off to the side, I think, really makes the eye look at it a different way, and you can do one or two angles, and it changes the whole layout. So that was definitely the idea. That's the little tannery there. So, of course, everybody lives in their little businesses in the town, but that blue one is our little tannery. The inn is the one with the orange roof there. We have a little brewery up front as well, a little medieval brewery, and the little tents off to the side selling their wares.
You always got to have the market with the colorful canvases.
Absolutely, because especially markets in this time, there's a lot of foot traffic. They get muddy and dirty, so some nice color to it gets people to come visit, right?
So then if we move up from the town, you go up literally the cliffside here, and then you've got some more castle.
Yeah, so the top of the castle here, this is one of the few pieces I wish I had a little bit more time for detailing. I really loved how it turned out, but I would have liked to have done a little more on it. Basically just building a little fortification into the wall, the Lord's Manor and his, extra house up there, because obviously he's got to have two. And so that was a really fun piece. Getting to build this little wall section up is, a lot of detailing on the underside of it that we don't see, which is every color of the rainbow, of course. But it was a lot of fun getting to build on different levels here. I think the challenge with that is the amount of brick underneath it and then building something on top of it. So not only am I trying to build something new on top, but I'm also trying to make sure I don't put so much weight that the supports that I built underneath it aren't going to collapse under its weight. So it made for a interesting challenge.
Because, yeah, I think a lot of people don't always realize how heavy Lego gets. When you start putting more and more bricks on top of something, you've got to have very good supports underneath there.
Absolutely, and especially if it wasn't something I like to just freeform build, so I don't do a ton of planning on things. So there was once or twice where I built something or one of these pieces, and I had to take a whole section out, re-engineer the underneath because it just wasn't holding right, and it was risking collapsing. So, yeah, it made for a fun build doing everything on top there. It allowed me to do a second layer of things and kind of reimagine what I would do in the town in another section. So there's a lot more woods, little farms, that kind of stuff up there.
Adding height to a build is always a good idea. Plus, you can do things like what we have over here in the corner, which is underneath the rock.
Yeah, the underneath the rock part was, I knew I wanted to have a mountain and I wanted to do a cross section into it, but that was kind of an affect after the thought of this is just going to be a huge slab of nothing. I need detail or something in there. And I've always really enjoyed, like dwarves and that kind of like lore, living in the caves, living in the mountains. So I decided this would be a perfect place to put a bunch of those. So, yeah, building something down there, just that's where the Undercity kind of came in because both of these cities work together to sustain each other. They have the caves and the dwarven city underneath and the human city up top.
And then you've got a very nice kind of fall colors forest here, even some pumpkins growing there for your food source.
Yeah, just some food sources, some carrots, that kind of stuff. Some of the king's game in here, running around, and yeah, the Pegasus flying around were just kind of a fun affect. That was something that my daughter wanted, the flying horses, so I had to find a way to put a few in.
So you mentioned earlier about how modular this is. Then when you bring it to a show, is it pretty easy to set all this up because of the way that you've built them?
Yeah, surprisingly so. So I built this actually last year, and of course with the pandemic wasn't able to bring it anywhere. So this was actually the first opportunity I had to transport it, and yeah, with the 32 plates, it fits perfectly into a 1 foot by 1 foot box, and with just enough room to get your fingers and pick it up, put it down. So everything except a few of these larger mountain pieces fit nicely into like 20 different boxes, and I can stack them up nicely in a car and take them wherever I need.
Do you know the dimensions of the whole layout? Because it covers quite a lot of space.
The dimensions I think are very close to, it's just shy or just over 6 foot long and just over 3 feet wide. Or 2.5 feet wide, sorry.
Yeah, that's very impressive layout. And you've packed in a lot of detail, colors, so many great scenes. So thank you for bringing it out to the show here.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.